Thank you for joining us on Sheridan County Ag Update. Joining me today is Rindy West, who has two titles actually that we're going to be talking about today. She is the Development Director for the Wyoming State Fair Endowment, and she's also the President for the Albert J. Goodwater FFA Alumni Chapter. Rindy, thanks for being with us.
Well, thanks for having me, Liz. I'm excited to be here today and always eager to talk to you in particular. As well as the folks out in, the podcast world.
Absolutely. Well, so it's been a month or so since we got back from State Fair. It was kind of a crazy time down there, but you started a new role, not only as mom at State Fair with the kids and keeping Justin in line, but now you have this new endeavor. So tell us about it.
I do. I have been super excited about it, really. Again, thanks for asking. So about August 1st, there was an opportunity that surfaced for me, and I had formed my own consulting business called Razor Consulting. And there was basically an RFP that went out to be able to perform work for the Wyoming State Fair in terms of development, which is fundraising and revenue generation. And so anyway, I applied for this through a contract and have started. And it's been great because what I do is exactly that. It's a fundraising, relationship building, and trying to raise, funds and goodwill towards the Wyoming State Fair. And in particular, as you just mentioned, the Wyoming State Fair Endowment is a big part of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that, even in my mind, the State Fair just happens. It's always just happened. But I think people forget about all of the people around the state who volunteer their time, are employed doing something. But tell us about the endowment fund. Tell us about some of the fundraising you've got coming up and what it goes for towards the State Fair.
Great. Yeah. The Wyoming State Fair, back in 2018, the Wyoming legislature outlined a $100,000 gift matching program to the Wyoming State Fair Endowment to get started. And so that's when it kicked off. We had a few major donors at that point in time, several across the state, as well as, like, for example, the Converse County Commissioners chipped in at that time and matched the $100,000 gift. Additionally, what they outlined is that for the Wyoming State Fair to continue to kick in on the endowment, that a penny off all fair time and non-fair time revenues would go into that permanent endowment fund. And it has. It perpetuates. It still does. Even to this day, when you go down to the Wyoming State Fair and you do a gate entrance to get into the PRCA rodeo or the concert, a penny off every dollar of those fees goes back into this endowment fund, which is amazing. So it started out again in 2018. The legislature outlined that. It grew a little bit, and it has continued to grow. And in fact, at about $700,000 a year goes towards the Wyoming State Fair endowment, just from what I just mentioned. And then the way it also continues to build is that basically the interest or revenues that are generated off those invested funds, which are invested by the state treasurer, Wyoming State Treasurer. So anyway, they're handled really well. I think that guy knows what he's doing.
I hope so.
He does. He's got a really proven track record. I think things are performing well. But anyway, so those funds that come off of that, 75% of that comes off is reinvested right back into the endowment. And 25% of that comes off to be able to be spent on the Wyoming State Fair. So everything from awards and activities to, new enhancements and construction on buildings, all of that is encompassed under usage for those 25% of the funds that come off. So the Wyoming State Fair's annual budget is about $1.5 million. And so you can imagine that, it might take us a few years to get there to be fully endowed. But that is the goal, that we hope we can continue to do that. The endowment right now is at about $3.8 million. And again, that's really great because in 5 years, that 2018 was $100,000 to right now at about 3.8 million. Gosh, I think it's exciting what can happen for the future. And so one of the latest efforts is that the Wyoming legislature has come back around again and said, we will match $500,000 if you can raise $500,000. So insert,
here you are,
this new development role for the Wyoming State Fair. I've been excited to join the team with them. They're a slim team. not many people probably know, but I mean, it's like 5-6 people kind of to be able to host this annual event. And I call it the Super Bowl of all events, especially for our youth, our youth
Absolutely.
across the state and in agriculture in particular. But it's really their big spectacle, pinnacle event, annually. And so anyway, long story short, we've got this goal right now that we're working towards, $500,000. And we've got some things. We've got actually kind of a small concert that Chancey Williams is going to do for us coming up here in October. In fact, if anybody wants to be a table sponsor at that, I would put that out right now. We'd love to have you involved in sponsoring a table. But there's that kind of thing, as well as several activities that'll take place over the course of the year to try and get those $500,000 that amount matched here. So anyway, lots of stuff that will come to the forefront. I just started August 1st, so we're kicking it off. We're going
big. Go big or go home, Rindy.
Yeah, I know, right, Liz? You know this for
Yes,
sure. Go
yes.
big or go home.
Cowboy State Bank, helping farmers, ranchers, and the ag community succeed for over 100 years.
So anyway, it's really exciting times, and I'm tickled to be a part of it and kind of, helping guide those efforts.
Well, I hadn't been to the state fair in years, honestly. Probably the last time I was there was in the early 2000s, last time my dad roped there. And then a few years ago, somehow we ended up down there and Stuart was fitting cattle all of a sudden. But I think Justin might have been involved in that
Maybe.
somehow. I don't know exactly. But
Friends
I
help
was really,
friends, right?
I know, neighbors, friends, it happens. I was really impressed with how things had changed down there over those years, because it was still the old barns when I'd been down there in the new facility, and just how many different things there were now with the state fair that there wasn't when we were kids. It was just go down, show your animals. There was a carnival and maybe some food vendors, and it was just kind of
Yeah, right.
But now it's grown, and if you haven't been to the Wyoming State Fair, go. It's awesome. And we, as Sheridan County, are represented huge down there, from the horses to the livestock to the static projects.
Yeah,
Sheridan
rabbits,
counties.
chickens,
Yes.
you name it. I mean,
Yes.
we do. We've got a great contingent that goes
Yes.
down.
So switching gears a little bit, let's talk about your other role as president of the FFA Alumni.
Okay, great. Well, as you mentioned, I am president of the Albert J. Goodwater FFA Alumni this year. Have in past years, and actually I'll just put in a little bit of a tidbit right now that you don't have to be an actual alumni. In other words, you didn't have to be in the FFA program growing up to be a part of it now and help out with some of the efforts that we're undertaking as an alumni group. And so I wanted to put that out there because I think it's kind of a misconception that you have to have been in. I wasn't, for example, growing up, but sure got involved now with all sorts of other great people to make these happen. But some of the things that we're working on annually with the FFA alumni are in particular to raise money and funds to support the efforts that the FFA chapter locally has. So at Sheridan High School, I think you've had Cheney Peterson on here before, and she did such a great job talking about what FFA is here locally as well as nationally. And this chapter, it's an amazing one. You were in it, back in the day.
I was back in the day, just a few years ago.
I know. Not that long, Liz. You doesn't even show.
Thanks.
So yeah, we've got a lot of efforts that, we undergo throughout the year, everything from concessions at the football games. So on Friday nights, the alumni we cook burgers. We've got a grill going, and every game, everybody, that loves those burgers comes back, to have, kind of a burger feast, that's cooked by the alumni, and those funds all go in. We've got a major fundraiser, which for the viewing public here today, Miss Liz Kincaid is in charge of this year. She and Katie Hiller have offered to go ahead and co-chair that effort. And so, I could let you talk a little bit about that.
Well, the Barn Bash is probably the biggest fundraiser that the alumni does. I mean, speaking of the concessions, we did that when I was in school. So that tells you how long the FFA has been doing concessions there at the football games. But the Barn Bash is really the biggest one, and you can be involved in a lot of different ways, not just attending, but we have table sponsors, we have a live auction, a silent auction, and that's really the cumulative for the scholarships for our seniors. And Rindy has chaired this for many years and has done a great job. So Katie and I have a little bit to live up to. We're keeping our fingers crossed.
It'll be much better.
Glad we have her there to help. But and some of the other fundraisers that they need is convention fees have gone up, and thankfully our FFA chapter has grown. So there's more kids wanting to go to do contests and be part of that and be part of the public speaking contest. So we also help with giving money to those kids to be able to go.
Absolutely. Scholarships is a big part of that. We've been so fortunate, don't you think, to have so many great volunteers. Every year we pick up more volunteers on the alumni side to help us out, and it makes a difference. And so we continue to raise more money. And as you mentioned, there's more and more kids involved in this program because it is one of the best life skill between FFA and 4-H. And there's numerous other great organizations too that do, civic engagement and the like. But the life skill education that comes out of those two programs is beyond amazing. And, our family is just in love with how that has helped, our kids in particular grow. But gosh, there's scholarships that are available and the opportunities for them to travel, the contests that they can represent Sheridan and our state in, on a state and national levels.
Quality Kubota machinery and customer care from the heart. Proudly serving Sheridan and the surrounding area since 1996. Go online to heartlandkubota.com or stop by Heartland Kubota, 2450 Heartland Drive.
Cool. Well, and I'm just going to pick on Jet for a minute. I mean, your son Jet has had the opportunity to go and represent not only the John B. Kendrick FFA chapter, but Sheridan County on a national level. He's been twice.
Right.
And he's the FFA president this year. I mean, he's done phenomenal. And those are the kind of kids we want to raise. I mean, those are the kids. And, Braden went through it. And now we got Wynn coming up.
Yeah.
She's going to run for president someday.
Who knows?
But I really think that, FFA was a huge part of my life. And that's why I'm helping with the alumni. And I know who you are out there that was in FFA with me. I will come find you.
You probably will.
I will. Actually, some of them, their kids are in it now, so it's okay. I don't have to go far. But
that works out, doesn't it?
Yes. But the Barn Bash is in February.
It is.
And it's kind of the end of National FFA Week, which we're visiting with Emily Swinier about National 4-H Month and the week this month. So FFA comes in February, and Sheridan Media will be doing a lot of advertising for that. So you will all know when it is, and we would love to have you all there. We also do the online auction, so you don't have to come to the event to bid on that. You can bid online just like one of our regular auctions, and you can still support the FFA that way.
Absolutely. That's great. Yeah, I'm glad you brought all that up, because that's spot on. Every little bit of support helps. Again, whether we're talking about the Wyoming State Fair endowment, every dollar gets us closer to that goal. And it's the same with the FFA, raising funds annually for that cause, basically. Every little bit helps. So, gosh, we would encourage, folks watching today to absolutely join in, whatever is your passion. But in particular, boy, we sure care a lot about a few of these. And gosh, every bit of support, whether it's on the volunteer side or a dollar that, you have to donate, makes a big, big difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
Making plans for building a new barn, shop, or commercial building? Don't do any planning without a call to Sheridan's premier post-frame building and homes builder, True Built Builders, online at truebuiltbuilders.com.
Well, anything else you want to talk about with either one of your endeavors that keep you busy?
Gosh, I could, I could probably talk a little bit about some of those, but I'm just, again, super thrilled to be a part of, for example, on the state fair side of things. They have a lot that's happening. They're continuing to grow every year. They have big things in the works. There's, for example, a building project right now that, if that comes to be, would greatly expand some of the facilities.
Wow.
So that's on the docket and everything. And I'm hopeful that, for example, some of those things continue to happen. And I think as we raise awareness and support, they will. It's kind of like you think it, you wish it, and doggone it, somehow stuff works out in the world, right? That those things that we're passionate about can come to fruition. So anyway, I'm excited to be a part of all of that. We had almost 6,000 entries on the exhibitor side for the state fair last year.
Wow.
Which is really cool. And again, as we talk about that continuing to grow every year, that means a lot, because that means there's interest in, agriculture and youth and industry in Wyoming. And again, it's a pinnacle opportunity for those individuals to exhibit. And you don't have to be in 4-H or FFA. You can be out of state even, neighboring state, for example, or others, and you want to come exhibit, Hereford cattle. You're more than welcome. You want to enter, we've got baking contests at the Wyoming State Fair. Open to anybody. This might be your deal, Liz.
I will tell you something that I went and look at this year and have gone every year is the quilts.
Yeah, they're amazing.
I mean, some of them are just, I wouldn't even want to put them on a bed. They're so beautiful. Just hang them on the wall. But it's amazing the talent that is in this state, from kids to adults.
100%. And you bring up one that is really, it is truly the design, the intricacy, the level and degree of talent to do that. And it's a big show. Yeah, patience. Patience. That's a big one.
Wish I had that.
I know, me too, some days, for sure. For sure. But yeah, that's one of the biggest displays in our entire state of that type of handiwork and capabilities. And so anyway, it's really kind of a spectacle. If you haven't been able to come see it, you should come to the Wyoming State Fair next year and check it out. And when you talk about, individuals, kids, even on the junior side of things with their talents, we have the artwork is absolutely phenomenal. You wouldn't believe the quality of artists that we have, young artists in this state.
And photography as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the kids that have an eye for that is, I mean, I always had a thumb in it or something,
Yeah, me too.
Thank God I have Stacy Ellenwood. I'm just like, just take care of my picturing for me.
Could you please do this?
Yeah.
Right?
Could you just take care of that?
Yeah.
So, one of the other things down there that I don't know if people realize is the Roundup tent. And it really is kind of the heart of the agriculture. I mean, it has everything from the Gen X and ST genetics reps in there to the local agriculture newspapers, the Western Roundup and all those different things. It has some of the agronomy things. And I mean, that's where I see a lot of our old ranchers and in there and farmers visiting and talking. Yeah. And it's great to see that. I still love that hometown, that small state feel.
Yeah, that's really another great feature of the Wyoming State Fair. And Dennis' son, that owns the Wyoming Livestock Roundup, that tent has been there for a long time. Of the 100+ years the Wyoming State Fair has been in existence, probably since even some of the inceptual with the livestock roundup, that tent has been at the Wyoming State Fair. So it is a great opportunity for folks, industry, agriculture industry comes through that tent and socializes. You've got the University of Wyoming in there with educational opportunities, whether it's grasses and, looking at proteins on forages and those kind of things. The educational side is huge. And as well as, another one is just the trade show. That continues to grow every year. And it's pretty exciting, along with, all of the great food that's at the Wyoming State Fair.
Yeah. Yeah. We tend to lose the kids there every now and then. And Stuart to the fried Oreos.
Yes, some of those things just wouldn't be a state fair without.
No, that was his dinner one night, him and the children. Yeah. I'm sure their parents were thrilled.
I think so. I think they usually are.
Yeah. So, well, it's been great to have you, and we'll definitely have you back before Barn Bash, and we'll probably have Katie in here, and we'll talk about that. And then, let's have you come back again, and let's talk about the state fair next summer. And about the fundraising and how it's going and all the fun stuff.
I'd love to do that, Liz. Thank you, because I'd love to keep the public updated on our, our $500,000 goal and how we're progressing towards that. It's a big deal, and it's a big thing for our state. And so thank you. I'd love to come back.
Yes, absolutely.
Kind of keep the public updated on progress.
For sure. Well, Rindy, thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're amazing.
And
thanks, Liz.
You bet. And check out more news, podcasts, and sports on SheridanMedia.com.